Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome back to the video. Oh god, this car is really good. And hey guys, welcome back to another video. My name is Frenzy Gamer, and today, yeah, we're gonna be talking about a little bit about retail. So what happened earlier was that I was working back to school, or AKA, like for the moment, it's actually tax-free weekend, and you already know it's gonna be busy because a lot of people like to get some free taxes, or basically no taxes for that matter. Wow, this car actually turns pretty good. But yeah, pretty much that's essentially what it is, and I have to say it's actually pretty good. I sold pretty well, but in the end I was just really tired, and I just it felt a lot more, you know, energy. Like it felt like a lot more energy was used for that than, oh god, that was really bad. I didn't think it was gonna be that bad, but it was pretty bad. Okay, cool, let's go. But yeah, it was pretty rough, I have to say. Probably a little bit harder than last year, and I would probably say it's mainly because either I just didn't really feel like working like I used to back in the day, and or I was just working a little bit more hours, because I'm guessing since I started off, they didn't really want me to work as much hours. But now that I have like a year of experience, you know, they trust me a lot more, so they give me a lot more hours. And yeah, so I was working a lot of hours, and it was like back to back to back. So like Friday, it was like 11 to 10:30, because by then we're closing at 10:30 in the mall, not 9:30. Oh, no fucking way. But yeah, that, oh, you son of a, bee. I didn't even think I was being Carol. I thought I was like behind him, but I guess I was ahead of him. But yeah, so that happened. Then Saturday I was working from 12:30 to 10:30. I closed again. Then Sunday I was working from 11 to 8:30. Fine, at least by then we weren't working as much as we used to, but still, it was still pretty late, and we still had to work a lot of hours, so it didn't really help with the fact that I just didn't feel like working as much with the consistent amount of times that I have to literally, you know, basically do the same thing over and over again for long periods of time. That's just something I didn't want to do. And looks like we're gonna overtake this boy, and we're gonna do like a little wheelie right here in the side. Actually, no, don't be stupid. That was stupid, but we made it. That's all that matters. Right, so here's what I like to call the Frenzy Gamer's Guide to Retail. The Customers Edition, because these are specifically for customers who are in the retail stores. So, one of the things I definitely hate about, you know, when I work retail is the fact that people tend to ignore you when you ask them for help. And I definitely hate this because, you know they need help, and you know they don't really understand certain things, and you just like want to help. Like you want to help them, you want to guide them to like do good things, you know, to make the right decisions on the shoes and everything. Because not only does it help them, but it also helps our store, because by then we get sales, and that's just the whole premise of the whole thing. However, it's also part of, like, you know, just giving good customer service. But there's just people who kind of make that thing a little hard. There's people who tend to basically ignore you when you ask them like if they need help, and I hate those kinds of people, because they're always, it's one thing to actually be the kind of people who ignore and not need help with anything, but then there's another type where it's like obvious that you need help with something, but you know, you just don't say anything, like, you know, until like it's so late, and you know, those questions you're asking to someone else when you could have just asked me, and we could have just saved some time of embarrassment. Because really, one of the things that happens typically when I first started working in the store I work in, basically one of the things that happened was that I was pretty embarrassed actually when I asked them if they need help, and I just get flat out ignored. And I didn't like it because, you know, I typically what I did back then was I wait until they said something, and then, you know, sometimes they say something, but majority of the time they don't say anything. They just kind of keep going on with what they're doing, like thinking like they're better than us because they're not retail workers. Which, honestly, if you think like that, you're an asshole. But essentially, you know, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, now they need help, and you know, basically you could have saved me the time and said, oh no, we're just looking, but you ended up not doing it. Because back then, when I started working there, typically what I did was that I essentially, you know, just wait until I get a response. But now, when, you know, working there for a year, I got to the point where it's like, oh, you know, if you need anything, just let us know. If you need anything, just let us know. But like, I do it like in a way that might seem rude. But let's be honest, guys. They were rude to me first already by not saying anything and just kind of leave me out there hanging, you know, waiting for a response. You know, basically just me. It's like, well, here I am. The only people I exclude from this is people who typically are like, you know, speak another language and they're not really accustomed to speaking English. So like, you know, for my case, it's like typically Hispanics or Mexicans, you know, basically like me, and they speak Spanish and only Spanish. And that's fine because, you know, there's tons of people that, you know, speak Spanish, and typically when it comes to work or like working or at least finding a job somewhere, we tend to give people like, you know, higher chances to actually apply to getting the job if they speak a different language other than English, unless somehow they're just amazing and have lots of experience in retail or in just working in general, so they know exactly how certain things work. But other than that, I mean, typically we always give a little bit more of a chance for people who speak 2 languages to work in the retail area, because, you know, that's always needed. It's always nice to have people who actually speak, you know, 2 languages, because it helps a lot. It also allows us to get more sales, because then people are not, you know, so nervous about the fact that, you know, not many people know Spanish or, you know, whatever language it is they're accustomed to. And that's actually pretty cool. And essentially, I am just like, you know, back then I basically just stand there, but now, you know, even there are the exceptions to the rule for people who typically tend to ignore you because of the fact that, you know, it's fine that they're a little bit nervous about asking if they know Spanish, because it's embarrassing for them too, so that's understandable. But there's people who obviously know English and they don't say anything. They just kind of stare at you, or like stare at you and then look back, or, you know, they don't even say anything at all. They just, I don't know, maybe they think they're better than us because, you know, work retail, or maybe they're rich or something. If so, you're an asshole, like I said before. But, you know, I just hate people like that. And my advice to customers is definitely, if someone asks for help, just say something. Not essentially because, you know, you have to. I think you have to, but I think it's just a way to, like, you know, save yourself, not save yourself, but save the person who's working from embarrassment, from getting a no reply. Because it's really embarrassing for lots of workers who, you know, just want to help people, you know, and try to give as great customer service as possible, just end up being ignored. And they're trying their best to give you good customer service, but you're just making it hard for them by not saying anything. And especially for new workers, it's definitely, like, really embarrassing for new workers to, like, experience something like that, because I felt like that. And I'm pretty sure those who are, you know, new and working in retail, they probably feel the same way when it comes to this stuff. Maybe some might not care, but lots of people probably might think that, you know, I'm trying to help them. It's kind of embarrassing just waiting for them to give me a response or so. So, just make sure that if someone asks you for help, you know, just say something. Like, if you don't need help, just say, oh, we're just looking, or like, oh, I'll let you know. You know, just say something, you know, save them from embarrassment. And I know there's people who, like, typically in Foot Locker, which I've been told a lot, that they ask for help multiple times when it's not needed, and not even like a minute has passed when they ask for it. But that's a totally different story. There's many stores out there that do not roll like that, that aggressively attack you for trying to get a sell. They just kind of are chill, like, you know, our store. But again, like I said, definitely something you should consider. Another thing I will say is definitely consider, sorry about that, I just lost my train of thought, but here's another thing I would like to say. So another thing I would like to say about this is definitely about this. So I work in a shoe store, essentially, and, you know, as shoe stores, we all have try-on socks, and, you know, essentially what they're for is to make it easier for the person to actually try on shoes. But not only that, but essentially we use them so they don't dirty shoes really quickly with their feet. And there's another thing I really hate about when it comes to working, the retail, especially during tax-free weekend. There's a ton of people out there, so it's kind of hard to like, regulate, people that use try-on socks. So basically, when someone asks you if you need a try-on sock, essentially they're not really asking you if you want to try it on. They're telling you to try it on. We're not going to be telling you to like, oh yeah, try this, use this try-on sock because we don't want you to dirty the shoes with your feet, because that's offensive. So typically, we won't say it straight up to you, but like if someone was to ask you if you want a try-on sock, now sometimes generally it is because they are asking you if you want a try-on sock, because they might know that you're wearing socks, but it might be easier for you to put them on. But sometimes, especially girls, this always happens with girls. I'm not sure why, but this always happens with girls. But when you guys are like wearing sandals or so, even though your feet are clean when you start off, you have to remember that those sandals might be pretty well worn, so essentially they're gonna be dirty anyway, or you might actually like have some dust or so that's going to your sandal because you're walking everywhere with that same sandal. So it's something you should definitely think about when it comes to trying on shoes when you're wearing sandals. If someone was to ask you to, if you want to try a try-on sock, essentially they're telling you wear a try-on sock, because we want to prevent, our shoes from getting dirty from your feet. And we're not trying to like offend you. We're not trying to say that you're dirty, your feet are dirty or anything, because honestly, you might have some really clean feet, which is actually a 50-50. Some girls might have really clean feet, some don't. How do I know this? Because when they try on a shoe without socks, they either end up dirtying the shoe really badly, or they end up actually keeping the shoe the same. So essentially, it's actually good for us. But definitely, if a retail worker is to tell you, from shoe stores or anywhere, is to tell you to, if you want to try to use a try-on sock, they're essentially telling you, hey, wear a try-on sock because we want to prevent you from dirtying the shoe, because by then it makes it harder for us to, sell a shoe, because by then it's already dirty. So something that you should definitely think about for the future.
It will be nice to dust an East Coast boy.
Alright guys, we are back after a while of driving, just trying to get stuff rolling. But, point number 3. So this thing also pisses me off too. So what happened to me a lot when they came during, not back to school, but tax-free weekend, was, when you help someone and then they ask you to get a new shoe and then they just butt out and leave. So I hate, like, those are probably one of the worst people ever as well, because it's like, I know that you have time to do other things as well, you want to do some other things, but you have to be respectful. Like my advice is that for those, for customers, you guys are honestly hoes for doing that. Now, if you're a woman, I know you're a respectable woman, but you're kind of a hoe for that. Because it's you can't just like ask for something and then just leave because, essentially you wanted to do something else, or maybe that shoe eventually was the one you're not going for. Like, there's no excuse for your leaving just because, of various reasons. Now, if somehow, like, we were taking a long time and it was a really slow day, and by then you're like in a rush, then yeah, like, you can leave, as long as you tell someone, it's like, oh, tell them that, never mind, and we have to go somewhere or some shit like that. But you can't just ask someone, like, essentially, like, regardless of what it is, you can't just ask someone for a shoe and then just end up leaving because, various reasons. Like, I don't care what your schedule is. If you knew you didn't have the time, you shouldn't have come to the mall in the first place, because the mall is for people who want to shop around and want to take their time shopping around. Now, essentially, yes, there's a lot of people who typically are in the rush to go to the mall, but honestly, for you guys, you should just have better schedules. I really have nothing else to tell you. It's really all on you. It's not really all on me that, maybe I'm taking a while. Because sometimes, shoes might be a little hard to find for us, or maybe, like, we have shipment and it's hard for us to get shoes sometimes because we have to move boxes and probably have to move ladders a certain way for us to get a shoe. Or, like, essentially, maybe it was just really busy and we had to help, like, 3 other people, which is essentially what happened to me, actually, during that time. Is that I was essentially helping other people when it came to, you know, helping with shoes. But there was like this couple right here that they were both women, and I was helping them out. And essentially, you know, they had me look for like these Converse like size 12, and then they ended up like, you know, I was like, oh, we don't have it at the moment, like, you know, I only have this size. And it was one thing. One thing was that they weren't paying attention at the first time, because they kept asking me questions after questions that essentially was like literally the same damn question, just asked in a different form. Because obviously you can already tell that they weren't paying attention, which honestly is like, it pisses me off sometimes. Like, I'm not a person who typically tends to like repeating things over and over. I mean, I don't mind repeating things like sometimes, but it's one thing to repeat something over and over, you know, just because you may not understand what it means, but it's another thing to just repeat something mainly because you just flat out ignore what I say, because that's basically what they did. They just, when I told them that, oh, we don't have this because of this, you know, they flat out ignored what I said. Like, they gave me like the really, essentially they were looking at the other way, gave a nasty look, even though that nasty look wasn't towards me. I was already well aware that it was to me, and I was like, okay, but it's not my fault that we don't have the shoe. I mean, what do you want me to tell you? You want me to tell you that we have the shoe and then tell you that eventually, oh, we don't have the shoe? Or what do you want me to do? I mean, I can't do anything for you when it comes to not having the shoe. I mean, in the end, it's just a company that has the shoes. Like, you know, we just provide you with customer service and yourself buying shoes. We don't exactly provide the shoes. That's for the company to decide. And, you know, okay, so long story short, they actually asked for like size 13 Converse. I'm not sure where it was, but it was a baby size. It was like a youth size. And essentially what happens then is that I was looking for it while helping another customer, and they just decided to butt out and leave. They just left, and then I came back out and I was looking for them, and there was already there was a whole crowd already because it was tax-free weekend. It was already annoying just trying to find, you know, people. And it's even more annoying about the fact that when you realize that they leave, because, you know, all this time you were trying to do searching for the shoe and then searching for them, and then realize that they left. And it pisses me off, because honestly, if you guys do that, you're honestly hoes. Like, if you just butt out and leave when you ask someone to get another shoe, you're a hoe. And honestly, like, I'm trying to say it the most respectable way possible, honestly, because honestly, the most respectable way possible saying is that you're a really bad person that wasted my time. But honestly, you're just a hoe. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like, again, I'm not saying that, like, you know, for like the woman, like, you know, I'm not specifically saying that you're like a hoe, but I'm just saying that you're basically, what I'm essentially saying is that you're just a bad person that just wasted my time when it came to this, because we're trying to help people out there, we're trying to make sales for the store, and you guys are making it difficult by just, you know, making us do things and then eventually just leave while we were doing something for you. And that's something that I do not like. So for those who actually, for my advice is that if you ask someone for a shoe, make sure that you stay, don't just leave, because it really is annoying when you leave. Like, it's kind of like a dick move, honestly. Essentially, that's what it is. It's a dick move for you to do if you just butt out and leave because, you know, various reasons. But yeah, it's essentially, it's a dick move, like, for you guys to do that. So don't do it. Like, you know, if you ask someone to get the shoe, stay there and wait until the worker comes back to you and gives you either the shoe or tells you that we don't have the shoe, but then they might give you other options or might actually give you advice on where to go to find that certain shoe. Because they're here, like, they're here to help you. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to be the best, because essentially I'm not the best person when it comes to customer service, but I try my best to be, and I try my best to help you. So one other advice I would say is definitely try to stay when it comes to you actually making the worker get some other shoes, or like trying to get that worker to get maybe some other clothing, whatever it is, because they're there to help you in the end. And honestly, my final thought is, for this one, is that learn how to pay attention. This is one of the things that so many customers could learn how to pay attention. Reading and comprehension is one of the best things ever, but it seems like customers just never really seem to do it. And I know that they're not that stupid. They just want to get like some sort of discount. or like some sort of coupon right now, but we're not that foolish enough to give you one unless, like, you know, there was actually a legitimate reason for it, or maybe because we know you very well. Because sometimes we, what I do sometimes give discounts, but those mainly they're from people that I know, like friends. Because I remember there's a few friends that I know that actually came to the store and bought something. I gave them a discount for it because, you know, I mean, they were good friends of mine, and the reason I didn't really do it in the first place sometimes was because I actually just didn't know I was allowed to. But then my workers were telling me, like, yeah, if that ever was to happen, just give it to them. If you, just give it to them, like, you know, at least give them 10% or something. You know, they don't essentially want us to give discounts that often because, you know, again, it's a business. We're trying to make money for the store, but you know, they still allow us to give discounts to like family and friends. So I was like, okay, that's kind of cool that they actually let me know. Ooh, look at that nice turn. So glad I got the special ability. It's actually an amazing freaking ability right there. But yeah, so one thing I would also recommend is definitely read carefully on signs. That's another thing I'll say to customers, is read carefully on signs, because there's stuff where it's like, oh yeah, in big bold letters, it's probably like, oh yeah, there's like a sale going on, or like a promotion, or like it makes it seem like it's a sale, but in reality it's like a promotion. Like, for example, for us in the shoes, we had a promotion going on where it's $25 off your next purchase of $65 or more, and you can actually use the coupon September 14th. Now, it's a coupon, it's not an actual discount that you get right now. It's something that you get later, kind of like how they do in Old Navy. But you know how people are, people want discounts now, so typically they essentially ask us like, oh, can I use the $25 off now if I spend $65 or more? I tell them no, like you have to wait until September 14th because that's essentially what the coupon says. And they're like, oh, well that sucks. And I'm like, it's not necessarily a bad thing either, because it's like, you're basically getting free money just for spending some money for the store. Now, essentially, it may not be a lot, but like, it does help, and it's definitely worth something because most of our shoes are actually $65, so it's not really that hard to get in the first place. And then secondly, you know, having to wait a while isn't actually necessarily a bad thing, because what's going to happen essentially is that either we get that shoe you're looking for finally in your size, or two, we actually get some new shoes that you might like better than the shoes you wanted before, plus maybe the shoe you have before is there too. So, you know, by then we'll have more options for you to choose from when it comes to shoes. But again, people don't think like that. People just want discounts now. And I understand, like, you know, I'm that type of person too who loves to have discounts, and especially if I have them now. But I also understand, since I work retail, that, you know, it's great to at least have some kind of, you know, discounted coupon than to literally get nothing out of it. So not really something that is worth complaining about. But another thing I would say too is you have to definitely learn how to listen to the employee. The employee is gonna likely know, well, essentially they know a lot more than you do when it comes to shoes. Now, they'll know a lot more than how the store works. They might not necessarily know a lot about the shoes or like the clothing brands or anything that, you know, we're talking about in retail, but they're definitely going to know exactly how, you know, it works in the store, or how, you know, certain things fit, because, you know, they've been trained by both the managers, the assistant managers, higher ups, anybody who's been working for that area for a good load of time. So it's definitely something that you should consider listening to when it comes to stuff like that. So definitely pay attention, and pay attention as much as you can from store employees, because they're gonna help you as much as you can. They're gonna give you all the information you need. I'm not gonna lie, not the best video for giving advice about retail, but hopefully for those who are actually either working in retail, you probably understand where I'm coming from. And for those who actually, you know, shop around at stores like American Eagle, or like shoe stores like Foot Locker, anything like retail, now I've gave you some kind of advice that you guys can follow, and reasons why you should follow these things, not only to make it easier for the workers and give them a better time at working where they work in, because they definitely deserve at least some ease and respect for, you know, dealing with many other people, because dealing with people sometimes isn't the easiest thing to do, especially for lots of people. some people tend to hate people, some people tend to love people, but they just can't, you know, mentally work for long periods of time because their mindset is just too tired to, handle all of it. So, it's really one thing that you definitely should respect the workers there. Now, if they disrespect you, I mean, that's another story, but if they're being respectful to you, be respectful to them and follow these things as well, because you definitely just want to make a good time for the worker, and in return you'll get great customer service. That's basically the key here. Now, I know this wasn't the best discussed video, but that's why I call it a rant, because it's just me saying different things, different ideas here and there without a script or anything. So of course my ideas aren't going to be as organized or as well executed, but I did my best for this. So hopefully that you guys did enjoy, and hopefully that you guys now who are going to shop around at stores like this, that you don't make those same mistakes that lots of customers make when from what I experienced. And as always, I hope that you enjoy this video. And honestly, I'm just gonna call this Rant Racer because it's basically just me ranting about certain things in retail that I hate. However, again, hope you enjoy the video. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you haven't, and as always, remember to stay frenzy. Peace.